Welcome to the Jason Madonna post-game show. And Friday night, we had a big game against Coweta. Coach, what are your thoughts on the game, man?
Well, there's an old saying that it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it seems. And that's the case for the past couple of weeks. We beat a top program like Booker T, and then we have to turn right around and play an undefeated Coweta team. At in the start of the fourth quarter, it's a 17-14 ball game. I felt like we just had the momentum going, and it just felt like one of those nights where we're about to make a couple plays and we're about to emerge, and that didn't happen. They actually ended up making the plays, and there's a drive there. It's early in the fourth quarter where the quarterback breaks a sack and is able to find his running back for a first down, and then we get him in third and long again, and they rip Kadarius's helmet off, and there's a rule in Oklahoma where you can't continue participating if your helmet comes off. And to try to tell a 17-year-old man to not chase the quarterback when he just had his helmet ripped off is pretty hard to do. And that penalty gave them another first down. So those two plays elongated their drive, allowed them to chew some clock, and they finished with a score. And I think that kind of took some of the air out of us, as far as the game flow is concerned. And then pressing a little late caused some turnovers that inflated the score. But I think you can go back to that point towards the end of the third, early fourth, where that was kind of the turning point, so to speak, of the game. And we weren't able just to make the final couple plays, and they were. And you got to give all the credit to Coach Harper and the Coweta Tigers. I mean, that's a really good football team. Anybody that watched that game realized that. They're tough, hard-nosed, and I think we're a pretty good football team too. And we just didn't come out on top Friday night. But we'll learn the lessons we need to learn from that game that help prepare us for the next few down the stretch, because all of our goals and aspirations are still right in front of us. And so just like you can't get too excited after you beat a quality program, you can't get too down when you lose to one, because the next team's coming fast. We're on the road on Thursday night at Durant, which is a nice little drive down south. And so, time to get refocused and continue to get better and on to the next.
Oh, you're right, Coach. I think anybody in the stands, and I know in the broadcast, that was a turning point. Was they got that long third down, and all night long I was really proud of the boys. There was a lot of adversity coming at them again for the first three quarters of the game, and they really kept it close. 14-7 at halftime, and then we were down 14-0. They come out and they get that field goal, but we come down and score that touchdown on a great play by Kadarius in the back of the end zone, getting his feet down, well thrown by Braylon. And I think we all felt it. Okay, it was 14-0. Now it's 17-14, and it's feeling good, especially when we got him to that long third down again, and the quarterback was under duress. And, KD is KD. He's such a competitor. You're not going to tell him to turn it off. I was frightened for him, honestly, when I saw him running towards that quarterback. And you can refresh my memory, but it might not even be necessary. But I don't even know that he actually made the tackle. I think he came in late on the tackle after that. But that's one of those things that that's where the air went out, right there. Put him down at the 35-yard line, and it was to no fault of KD. I don't think, but I mean, that's the call you have to make. It's a rule, and his motor was going. But man, you hit the nail on the head there. I think that's kind of one of those unfortunate things, and I just want to give a shout out to the team, because they overcame so much prior to that point, but the air just went out. It seemed like at that point. And it was one of those weird nights. There was a lot to overcome. I want to throw one of my mistakes up there. Like right at the beginning, I had texted you guys, hey, I need the starters. I'd like to make sure that I was straight on them. And when I read Jaden, for some reason, I put Jaden Smith in there at cornerback, not Jay Hunt. And it was funny because just at the team meal, he was getting on to me, or he wasn't getting on to me. I was getting on to him going, man, I don't even know how to spell flow. Do I spell it with the W? Do I spell it without the W? He goes, okay, wait. It's flowing. just drop the and it's flowing. So I'm still working on that, but a big shout out to Jay Hunt. Sorry about that. These guys I met in the parking lot when they were doing themselves up with that pink. How about that? And how about the crowd support over the last couple of nights, man? Jim Thorpe Stadium is packed again.
Absolutely. The atmosphere is electric at our home stands, and it makes it really cool for all the athletes and the coaches and the families when just, the roar and the cheer and just the amount of people and just, that's what Friday night in a small town in the fall, that's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be that everybody meets at Jim Thorpe and cheer on the Wolves, and it's our responsibility to give them something to cheer about. And so, but I can't be any more appreciative of all the things that go involved, and people may not even have a grasp on just how much it takes to put on a production like a high school football game with the, security meetings and then the press box, the music operator, the score clock operator, the chains crew, the officials. You got our tent going with our quarterback club members and our sponsors and it's a lot that goes into it, and it's awesome that people show up and make it special. So kudos to everybody involved.
Well, and something special for everybody. We got Garrett McCurdy back, the sophomore. He's been out, a number of months with some struggles on a particular injury that, we don't have to elaborate on, but full speed back, 100%. What did it feel like for you, Coach, to get that youngster back in after, watching him learn a lot on the sideline through the first 4 games?
It's awesome. Anytime a young man goes through an injury, especially one that keeps him out games, it's tough. And it's hard on them. It's hard on their psyche. And the good thing about Garrett, man, he's a tough young man. And so he handled it well, and he rehabbed as hard as he could and finally got to a point where he felt confident that he could get out there and not make it any worse, but be, close to himself. And I thought he played great. He was a little nervous at the very beginning, but then once after a couple plays and he got those nerves out, and he was really coming downhill, making plays and being kind of back to the special football player that he is. And so we're excited for him to come back and get more and more involved and how he fits in, because he's a young man with a huge upside and a bright future, and just plays hard and does things the right way. So I can't be more excited than to have him back in the fold.
Yeah, Garrett was at mentoring on our last session, and he's just such a pleasure to be around. Coach, talk a little bit about your offense on Friday night, what you like, what we need to improve, what went down, because, it seemed like we were getting some offside holding penalties quite regularly, and I heard that, that was part of the attack that the opposing team, how they moved on the line. And I also heard that we were just a fraction of a second off maybe on some of our run plays, but we were really confident that we were close all night long.
Absolutely. And we obviously didn't perform up to the level that we hoped we would have, only scoring 14 points. We have a little bit higher expectations for that unit, but I got to give credit to their defense. They did a good job of not missing a lot of tackles, and we have to do a better job of making plays in space. There was a couple calls that we felt like didn't go our way, like early in the first quarter in the second drive. We have a vertical ball to Kadarius that they run right through us, and we don't get that call and end up turning over on downs there, where if we get that call now, we're at least in field goal range. And then early down penalties hurt us in the second half. We were able to overcome some of them, but starting in 1st and 20 is never a positive thing, and so we just got to clean up some of the technique stuff. And some of that is, how aggressive their defense played. And some of it is, we got to be better at the point of attack. And there's a lot that other technique stuff that goes into it that we'll continue to clean up. But there's a couple times, or more than a couple times, we're super close to just getting that big, huge play that we're accustomed to. And we just need a little bit longer block here or slide into a different hole here. And so running game wise, Tate finished with over 100 yards. But because of some of the penalties that put us in longer down situations where we weren't able to possibly, feed him as much as we probably need to be successful, we weren't able to get blocked up for Braylon to be able to use his legs as efficiently as he had in the past couple weeks. And then we missed on some opportunities down the field that if we had those throws back, we probably connect. And so we turned the ball over too much. We had our center went down late in the week, and so we had to move another player over to center that had been used to playing guard. And so some of the snap timing was a little off, and that caused a couple fumbled snaps. And then we had a couple turnovers in the air, a couple interceptions where we're trying to make a play and we just don't put the right ball on it. And we'll learn from that. Growing pains, mistakes happen. But one thing I am proud of is that unit is we didn't have any of the dead ball mental errors that we've had in the past. The only personal fouls thrown in the game were on them, not on us. And so super proud of our both units for doing that. We'll clean up the holdings and we'll clean up the blocking assignments so that we can spring those long runs and that stuff will come. We had an off night. A lot of that self-inflicted and a lot of that due to just a high quality defense we were playing. But we're working hard right now and we'll get after it this week to clean up those mistakes and to ensure that we give ourselves an opportunity for a better performance Thursday night.
Well, you mentioned big plays. We netted 69 yards, but we got that in about one play from big play McClendon. Tate really showing again just how talented he is. He's a fast young man. He didn't have a lot of space, but when he hit the outside, nobody could catch him. Tate with that long 68-yard run, and then on the other side of the ball, big plays all night long, really, really powerful for the defense. Sophomore Riley Story, man, he really showed out again last game, Coach.
He did. He's starting to turn into an outstanding football player with his consistency in play. And before we move on to Riley, going back to Tate, if I'm a directional school in the state of Oklahoma, I'm coming to Shawnee to watch this young man play. High GPA guy. Great student athlete, super fast. That touchdown run right there, everybody in the building thought that young man had an angle on him, and he outran the angle for the touchdown, broke the tackle there late. So if I'm a directional school in the state of Oklahoma and I'm looking for a football player, I'm coming to Shawnee and I'm taking a look at number 3. I'm just telling you.
And I want to implement there because of who he is. I mean, he is one of the most polite, articulate, respectful young man on that sideline, or if just running into him and talking to him. He is just very, very personable. You've got to love having people like that in your locker room.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it really is. And the best part about this job, I'll be honest with you, is dealing with the young people. I mean, the Friday nights, the football, that's amazing. But getting to watch somebody like Tate grow as a young man and then in the future get to see the type of human being that he becomes as an adult, that's the biggest benefit of this job. And so I'm really excited for him in his future, and I'm glad I get him for the next, 5+ weeks to be able to be around him. So super excited about him. Going back to Riley, he's just a relentless effort. He's a physical specimen. He's got the tools that he needs to be successful. I mean, I was a pretty decent high school offensive lineman. I wasn't great. I'm no Creed Humphreys, obviously, but I would have not enjoyed having to block him all night long in a high school football game. I promise you.
Hey, Coach, you couldn't have blocked him.
I got him. I would have got him a couple.
You
times.
would not have. He would have busted you up.
No, he's another just awesome young man to be around. He brings a good energy to practice every day, and he's kind of he's a quiet young man, but he's a funny young man, and so he's a pleasure to be around, and just a blessing to be able to coach him. But I've had a lot of people this weekend tell me, man, 24. A lot of people talking about just the plays he's able to make. I mean, he's getting held play in and play out. He got a couple of them called, but he's back there making plays on the quarterback, and his jersey's upside down, dang near. And so we're really proud of his effort.
Yeah.
And he's a guy he's a talented basketball player. He's a good baseball player, and so his athleticism is showing on the football field, and he's making a lot of plays. And we're excited that he's just a sophomore, and so I feel disappointed for actually, I'm not really disappointed, but I feel happy for us, and I don't envy the opposing offenses that are going to have to see him for the next 2.5 years.
Oh, man, and don't think I don't notice. I see that sparkle in your eye while you're talking about Riley, and I've seen you and him go back and forth. In fact, at one point, he had just made like 4 fantastic plays, and you jabbed him going, when are you going to start playing? And he looked like, does he not know what I have been doing? He knew you were joking, but he's the type of kid that's like, I'm going to do better. You got to love it. And another one of those quiet leaders, you hardly know he's in the room. You have to be looking for him, but you don't have to look very far to see him on the field. And that's Trey Barber. He was our first MVP. He's the one that started the game off against Booker T. Washington with that hit. And he led, again, with 15 tackles. He leads the team. Trey Barber's just another one of those guys, man.
He is. His vision, he grew up playing running back, so his vision to anticipate the hole that the back's going to cut is probably some of the best I've seen in a long time. And his ability just to be in the right place at the right time and make the play is uncanny. And so we're super, super fortunate that he's on our side. He just makes play after play, and our defense is pretty fast, and we've kind of figured out that that's what makes us the most successful. And he's a big part of that. His toughness, along with his speed, is a huge part of the success that we're finding defensively. The score is not indicative of the success defensively we had. We held them to season lows as far as yardage is concerned, and they have one of the top running backs in the state. And he was averaging 200 yards a game coming into it. And I believe we held him to right about 100, somewhere in there, is what I've been told. So really proud of the effort of him. And just, he doesn't say a whole lot. He's not very loud when he says it, but his pads speak volumes. And so we're excited about the type of production he's putting out.
Oh, yeah, man. 3 of those tackles were for a loss, and talking about one more with double-digit tackles, and that just means so much, you can tell. And he's fighting through as well. He's had adversity this season that, people just aren't aware of. Just a sophomore, but one of the leaders on your squad, big Cade McKee, he had a good game on Friday night.
He did, and we're talking about a young man, just a sophomore that's new to the position at linebacker too, but his relentless effort is what makes him go, and just his ability to come in full speed. He's like a bulldozer or a wrecking ball. If there's a pile of people, then he's going to make sure it moves when he gets there. So he brings the type of physicality that we all love to see as a linebacker. He kind of reminds me of those old school linebackers, the Brian Urlachers, the Bosworths, for all you OU fans. And he brings that type of energy. And we talked about Riley and Travion being quiet kids, and that's not the case with Cade McKee. When he's in the room, and that's awesome. That's what I love about him. He's a natural born leader, and just the energy and the excitement and the positivity that he brings in every day. It's hard to have a bad day around him, and just to see the life in his eyes when he gets to play football, it's a beautiful thing. And it's one of the true blessings of this job, is just to meet people like that. And so his future is so bright, and the way that he's able to fly around and make plays and do those things. And he's also the type of kid, he's not afraid to grab a freshman and coach a freshman up, or get people lined up in the right spot, and just, whatever he chooses to do in life, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be successful when he gets older. And so, we're glad he's on our side.
I've been very impressed with the growth that I've seen in him, just from meeting him over the summer back in June to today. Just has grown so much in a maturity level and a presentation level, and in who he is. And he's been fighting through things again. Love it. And now talking about somebody else who's just out there, people may not notice it because he's always in the trenches. But how about big Jaquan Evans? Jaquan Evans always is taking on one of their best rushers, and then he turns around on the other side, plays both ways for us, becomes one of our run stoppers. What about big Jaquan? And tell us about the game he had Friday night.
Really good game, really good on the touchdown run that Tate had. He's out there leading the charge, where we end up bouncing in on a counter play. And so his athleticism and how he's developed over the past couple of years is a testament to his hard work, and just what he's able to do. And him and Big Graham next to him, Big 77, that's a high school combo that's rare. It's not very often you see two offensive linemen with that caliber on the same offensive line at the same high school at the same time. And so, his upside is so big. We very rarely ever see pressure coming from the right side of the line, as far as when we're in the pocket. So, and a lot of that just has to do with the type of ferociousness that those two play with, and they're kind of like a little WWE Tag Team Championship duo there. So we're excited to have them. Jaquan's just playing as good as any offensive line can play. And I got to give credit to the other four because those guys are a unit. And as one goes, they all go. And so
talk a little bit about that, Coach, because it looked like we were having a tough time on the line, but that group actually graded out really well for the game. Talk a little bit about that, and maybe what we were seeing in the stands that might have been frustrating, but it wasn't about those guys because those guys were doing their job.
Well, a lot of time when people think about offensive line, they just think about the negatives. They see the sacks or the negative plays, the holding penalties. But every time that we got a holding penalty, we was on a 10 to 12-yard gain, and those get erased from the stat book, but they were still produced in the first place. And so, and not all the holding penalties were on the offensive line, but that group has been a special group for us. And then we had one go down at practice, so we have to slide in a new starter, Nathan Lane comes in and he holds his own. He does a really good job and has a really good game for one of the first times of him starting this season. So them as a group, man, they just, they're true offensive linemen. Just, if you don't have the pleasure of knowing one, I would get to know one because those are the type of guys you want to have in your corner. And they do a really good job. And when you break down the film and you look at it, those plays that went for 4 or 5, 2 or 3, we're just one step or a half second away from going from 20 and 30. And it really was that close. And so we'll clean up those mistakes. That group works really hard, and they're all battling through little things. Everybody, if you're a football player, you're banged up at this time of year, and it's just a matter of getting healthy. And so our athletic trainer, Kelly Wendelberger, she does a great job, her along with her husband, and they keep our guys healthy and get them feeling good for Friday nights. And so we'll continue that process and get them rested up and get them going.
Yeah. And so on that line, on one side, we've talked about the 2 seniors, but then you have those 3 juniors now with Chuffy Waldron, Ethan Lane, and Rosario Serena stepping in at center, doing a great job. So, Coach, coming up, you mentioned next week, it's a Thursday night game down at Durant. Give your best shout out to pull some fans down there. Shawnee always travels well. Durant's a good place, fun place to go if they can get away from work. It's fall break. Hey, let's hit Durant.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just take Friday off if you're going to work, and I would just go down there and I'd go stay at the huge Choctaw Casino. If you were an adult, you go down there. They got all kind of stuff, but
they've got a nice swimming pool for the kids.
They got it's a really nice area, and we're going to play at Southeastern, so we're going to play at a college stadium, and which it's a pretty neat atmosphere. We need you down there because the stadium stands are not very deep, and they put their band on our sideline. So we need all the fans to counteract their band, as many as we can. And so we've traveled really well. Our fans have really shown up for us, and we expect them to continue to do that and make that trip. It's a little bit longer drive on a Thursday night, but how cool would it be to go down there and see the Wolves try to steal a victory from the Lions? And so I say load it up, bring some extra friends, take that trip south, and let's go have some fun, because this team, we got a lot of high quality young men, and you know they're playing their butts off, and you know they're trying to continue the trajectory of this team, and so we're excited for this week. You know, short week, so every practice is just a little bit more important, and we're on fall break, so that's always fun, trying to organize rides and make sure that everybody's ready to go. But you know, we're gonna get after it. We're gonna get to work, and we're gonna try to put our best foot forward on Thursday night.
Yeah, because we want at least three more home games this year. Let's bring it. As all of us traveling down to Durant for a Thursday night kickoff, should be a lot of fun. A lot of great things down there to be able to do to get you something to eat, or actually eat here. Don't throw the money down there. Just spend it all here. Then go down there, shout for the Wolves, and let's get a victory. And Coach Madonna, thank you for the time you spend with us on Sunday evenings. Shawnee, all of us together, we